Good evening. I can see Dheeraj. All of you can, who all are there, can write your names so that at least I get to know your names. So, I hope you can hear me. In case I'm audible, just do a thumbs up. And all of you who are there, you all can just write your names in the chat box so that I get an idea. And I managed to find the prelims question paper of last year. So we'll start with polity, and we'll try to see how to ensure that all of you who are joining with us are able to clear your prelims. And this is the book I was talking of, Where You Need a Bare Act. This is the Constitution of India. I mean, in fact, I have two of them. So it's always practical to have a bare constitution which will have all the articles.
We actually have three.
Acha, we have three.
Okay, so, but we have a lot.
So there,
we're
Isha.
Also lawyers. Hi, so, everybody. Just speaking of the sources, I'm going to go over the sources for polity prelims once. I think that's very important. First, like I said, past year question papers. So I have
both there next to each other.
I have the compendium from 2011 to 2018, and I also have 2019 paper because I wrote it. So I think
Yes, the paper.
So to the extent you need all of this is the first source you need for polity. Along with this, to supplement this, you need this. I think this is a very good source, which is the past year question papers, the past year things that are once. Yeah. So sorry about that. Uh, So one is this is very important, I think, because they've done half your work for you, where they've divided everything. So if you look at here, I think this really helped me in my prelims as well. Let me just open polity here. So if you'll see, this is a great question bank to have. We're all looking for questions on polity, and I think more than past year papers, the best thing you can do is this question bank. I mean, sorry, past year papers. I'm saying more than mock tests, you can do this question bank because it has a lot of information. So they have from 1995. So there are a lot of things that are still relevant with respect to the election commission. And if you can see, I've actually made notes here because I got a lot of additional knowledge from this itself. And I know these are the areas that UPSC likes to cover. So that is why I think this is a really good source. So once you go through these two, you will understand exactly what.
Apart from today's agenda, ma'am, I wanted to know that I keep on hearing from everyone that this exam is very tough. What makes this exam so tough? Okay. And also discuss what we should avoid doing if we are so determined to appear for this prestigious exam.
So that should make another class. There's so much to this exam. But with respect to polity, so I want you to say that I want you to go through all these questions. There are, at least in polity, there are a lot of questions from past year papers this has. And because this has also tried to find answers, it becomes. So there are 278 questions here. And I think with 278 questions, they've given numbers, they've given extra.
Let's ask 3 questions because you all must be studying for quite some time.
Yeah, I think that's
so let's do, because the biggest thing what I tell you, like you said, it's a very difficult exam. It's all about lazy mind. You don't have to let your mind become lazy. That is very important because ultimately you will read so much, retention is less, and this exam is all about the output part. So you have to ensure that just by reading, and that is what I have seen with maximum candidates. A lot of people have come to me for advice, and they study so much that at the time of exam, they get confused. So it is better that you whatever you study, you revise, and keep challenging your mind. That the mind has to retain as much as it can. If you've read 10 things out of 10, you should remember at least 8 before you start the next chapter. How you remember those 8? That is only possible when you keep solving questions, you keep asking yourself questions. So let's do 3 questions of polity
And
and
I'm,
we will go
I'm doing a
reverse.
really simple one. Which of the following provisions of the Constitution of India have a bearing on education? There are five. One, directive principles of state policy. Second, rural and urban local bodies. Third, the fifth schedule. Fourth, the sixth schedule. And fifth, the seventh schedule. So, what is the correct answer? Out of these, which all have a bearing on education? DPSP, rural and urban local bodies, fifth schedule, sixth schedule, and seventh schedule. Which ones?
So this means you should know the schedules. Like this year, anti-defection is in 10th schedule. So that is a sure shot question which is going to come in your prelims. So right now only keep it in your mind that 10th schedule deals with the anti-defection and 7th schedule deals with the lists, the division of powers between center and state. So which schedule deals with education is something which you must have in your mind.
Exactly. So now, if you look at the answer here, you have to eliminate. You know that fifth and sixth schedules don't, they deal with tribal advisory councils, etc. You know, DPSPs directly deal with education. Rural and urban local bodies deal with education because they are the ones that provide education, and the seventh schedule because that is where the division of powers is done. So, as per the answer here, it is 1, 2, and 5. So, you need to constantly ask yourself these questions. But I have to say that sometimes the answers are not correct, and which is why I said you need to go back to the past year question papers because that will give you the best answers that are out there. So, do your past year question papers. Moving on to the second source of polity, it will be your Bear Act. You want to teach
No,
them
I
something?
was talking of, yeah, I was trying to see education. Which are the articles, like Article 45? Article 45, provision for early childhood care and education to children below the age of 6 years. So these are the articles you should know. Uniform Civil Code is Article 44. So at least for a prelims aspirant, you must know 100 articles from the Constitution by heart. All the relevant ones, the fundamental rights, the directive principles, the articles pertaining to speaker. So now that we are doing this,
And
I will.
like they said, bearing on education. So why does seventh? Can anybody tell me why would the seventh schedule have a bearing on education?
Because you have to.
No, we've asked them.
Yeah. Can someone tell?
Why would the seventh schedule have a bearing on education?
I'll give you a wild guess. Law and order. Where is law and order mentioned? Is it in the union list or the state list? So likewise, education. You have to tell me that education falls under the central union list or the state list.
Exactly.
So
Because the seventh schedule deals with very good if it's stateless entry 80.
very good, Rishu.
So the
That's
thing
very
is
good, Rishu.
that seventh schedule deals with the division of powers between the center and the state, and that's how you have to think when it comes up. The first thing will be no, DPSPs deal with education, fundamental rights deal with education. How does the seventh schedule deal with education?
Because the lists are there.
Yeah, so then the seventh schedule tells you who is in charge of education, in charge of primary education, higher education, which is why the seventh schedule becomes important. That is why you need to think before the exam.
And that is
you
why
need to go one
yeah,
step further.
and that's why you need to know the articles. I think the
Bear Act.
Bear Act is a must. Keep going through it again and again.
You need to mug up all your DPSPs. You need to know the wordings of the fundamental rights. Important bills, I think, is very important. This year, citizenship would be quite important. So you need to know all these.
And in fact, anti-defection law.
Yes,
because
that's an
yes,
ever important subject, I would say. Every year, anti-defection is an issue. So
in fact, from the last year's question papers, can I take up the polity?
Yeah, sure.
See, like courts, you need to know the courts very well, all the writs. Like this question is there. With reference to the Constitution of India, consider the following statements. No High Court shall have the jurisdiction to declare any central law to the constitutional invalid. Then an amendment to the Constitution of India cannot be called into question by the Supreme Court of India. See this.
Okay, now I'll tell you one thing. First of all, what's the answer to this? No High Court shall have the jurisdiction to declare any central law to be constitutionally invalid. Is this statement correct or wrong? Don't Google it. Answer it.
Yeah, don't Google, because see, that is what, if you are reading, and why it is necessary that you do the questions, so that when you go read the chapter, you would know that I didn't know the question.
Yeah.
Because if you read the chapter and then do questions, you will never register,
And I
you will
want to
not
add
remember.
something here. Don't live in false pride. We live in a false ego that aata hai, let's not test, hoga, ho jayega.
And also I'll tell you, the mind also guides you. ठीक है बाद में याद कर लेंगे. Don't have that
So
चलता है.
Dheeraj says no to the first one. Let's do the second one. Uh, an amendment to the Constitution of India cannot be called into question by the Supreme Court of India. What about this? Is this correct or wrong?
Judicial review is a procedure. Dheeraj says false.
False. So the correct answer here would be neither 1 and 2. Uh, the High Court can declare a central law as constitutionally invalid because the High Court is also a constitutional court. And same way, Supreme Court has judicial review over constitutional amendments. Now, one thing is you need to be able to eliminate. This is how you can test your knowledge. Second, this is a very easy question. Now, these are the questions in prelims you cannot afford to get wrong. Okay, if you get one easy question wrong because you were nervous, it's forgivable. But more than that, you can't, because this is where you need to milk your marks. So these kinds of questions, they must be on your fingertips and you must answer them immediate. I mean, you must not get them wrong at any cost. So this is how you need to go through it. This one, this is the one I was talking, and see, in the context of polity, which one of the following would you accept as the most appropriate definition of liberty? Protection against the tyranny of political rulers, absence of restraint, C, opportunity to do whatever one likes, or D, opportunity to develop oneself fully. Which one is the answer?
So now you tell the answer.
Can I repeat that question?
Yeah.
In the context of polity, which one? D. So exactly. And the reason now, after this exam, I walked out, and this is the exact thing I was telling you yesterday. I didn't even look at the other answers. I mean, I never thought twice. The moment I saw opportunity to develop oneself fully, I marked it because I knew that in UPSC they've asked this question before, and this is the answer. One can sit and argue that it could be this, it could be that, but UPSC doesn't care. You
and
need
what
to get
is
the right
important
answer.
is, because you can't keep guessing for a long time, because you have to complete your paper.
Yeah, and it's
So
very
time
hard.
management is very important. I have seen so many students, they miss out because initially if you start at a slow pace, you can't complete the paper. So you have to know, at least if you want to clear the prelims, 50 you should know. There are 100 questions, 200 marks. So 50 questions, come what may, should be on your fingertips.
It's not difficult.
And it's
I'm
not difficult.
saying it's difficult. I'm saying it's confusing. After prelims, a bunch of people were debating what is the answer to this because it's a very vague question. It seems easy here, and that is another mistake you will make as an aspirant. It's very easy to say things are easy when you're not in the exam, because what is easy today, right now, the same thing in the exam is very difficult, because then your answer is actually determining 2 years of your life. The 1 year you've spent preparing, and the next year that you are going to spend preparing or not preparing.
So one thing Rishu asks is, should it be better to study article wise or chapter wise? How did we go about?
We actually started from scratch, like from Article 1,
Yeah.
we went on.
Hmm.
And then, like, for instance, if we were doing central government, parliament, then we would match it with state legislature, because that way you can also compare the two and know what's the difference, what's the similarity, and it goes faster. But mostly it's better to go according to the constitution itself, because that way in your mind you'll remember, okay, part 3 is fundamental rights, part 4 is DPSP, 4A is fundamental duties. So that way in your mind it becomes very clear.
And then the articles also you can specify, like if I remember, president is 73, article 73, governor will be 155. So it is always easier to compartmentalize if you go article wise. So preamble you will start with, then you will come with your fundamental rights. So this book, this bare act, you should at least go through 10 times, because then at least 10 to 15 questions you will clear like that.
Yeah.
And these are sure short questions. Polity cannot be ignored. Modern history, freedom movement cannot be ignored. Geography cannot be ignored, because to get your 50 questions right, these are 100% which are going to come in. And a big chunk comes from these subjects, be it polity, be it history, be it geography, be it environment. So just divide your questions that this much I have to get from here, and they have to be right.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
So that's the second thing. That's why I'm saying do your past year papers. It will really help you more than anything. The third source that we have is Lakshmikant. It's a Bible, and you have to see the number of times you do Lakshmikant. If you see, let's say for instance,
Yes, Lakshmikant
fundamental
was,
rights,
yeah.
you can see the different kinds of pencils, pens, highlighters I have used, which goes to show the number of times I have done the same chapter
And in fact,
over
the
and
how,
over
and
again.
also like we did, you can make your short notes like this, add a small page and write it, so that when you are revising, you know what are the key points, because you, while reading, you would have seen the question papers, so you would know that what type of questions come, and go by the UPSC papers. You, as I said yesterday, because when you have these mock tests, they are a little difficult. They set a very high standard, and as a result, you get nervous because you feel you are not scoring. UPSC asks very direct questions. It will go straight from the bare act. It would go from simple questions. So it is better you be thorough.
Yeah, that is what I want to say. You know, you're asking, since you're not from a law background, to be honest, why I'm saying I personally think prelims is very tough for lawyers is because in law school we are taught to analyze each and every word, which means for us seemingly simple questions become complicated because we're like, this can also be the answer and that could also be the answer. Because
So what Dheeraj is now asking is,
yeah,
please share your strategy.
so that's
How
what
can
I'm
you
saying.
approach polity?
Something you should do is,
How many days should he give to polity? Because I think what we did, what we used to do initially to get a hang of it, say 2 days, 3 days, you complete the whole subject. So do you have enough time?
no, 3 days.
Huh.
I mean, as a revision,
Huh.
3-4 days would be revision, but the first time you would need a good 15 days at least minimum to really understand polity. And that is why I'm saying, first of all, dread the idea that the exam is tough. Humans are people who clear this exam, and I've seen the people who clear this exam are mostly people who are confident they'll clear it. They don't care about where they come from, what their educational background is, which language they're writing in. All of these are blocks that everybody keeps creating about UPSC, and the more you create these blocks in your mind, the lesser chances you will have of clearing it. And I can just speak from personal experience that it's much easier to clear the exam once you stop limiting yourself with, this is hard, this is easy. Just tackle everything on the face of it. And which is why I'm saying polity, do it again in polity. A very nice strategy to have is follow the keyword strategy. It will help you in prelims, it will help you in mains. Whenever you read something, what is the important keyword in that entire text? You don't need to know everything that was said. So, like when you read something, you'll be like, ultimately, ye keh kya raha hai? What is this trying to tell me? If I was supposed to summarize this entire thing in 10 words, what would those 10 words be?
See, rightly you said I made a lot of notes and loose papers.
I stopped
Making notes. Making notes makes your mind lazy. You don't remember, you don't recollect.
The term is active recall. That is what you need to do. You need to active read and active recall. And let me tell you how I did that.
यूपीएससी का प्रिपरेशन एक कुआं है, जितना उसमें डालते जाओगे निकलेगा नहीं वहां से। तो इसलिए हमें बहुत चीजें नहीं डालनी है। मेन चीज इज आई सेड डोंट मेक योर माइंड लेजी। आई हैव सीन पीपल अपीयरिंग once twice thrice and not making, slogging 18 hours 16 hours. It's not about how many hours you put in, how many notes you make. It is all about intelligent strategy, how you recollect, how you remember. And I'm telling you, maximum students I've seen, their minds become lethargic because you are only making notes, you are only reading. Issue is you need to test your mind. So do the question paper. In fact, if I have done 20 articles today, I should be able to close my book and say, what are those articles? That is what is important. Like if I know who introduces a money bill, who, whether if there is a clash between speaker and deputy speaker, who will prevail? You know, these are the things you have to keep challenging your mind. That I had read this yesterday. Do I remember today? So don't make too many notes also. Lots of toppers suggest that take as many mock tests. How many mock tests did you take to gauge your preparation? Okay, I'll because but I remember last 20 days we didn't take any mock tests because I realized that she was getting demoralized, and that was the time I stepped in. And let me tell you, we used to be in the room. We were studying 10 to 12 hours, and together we studied for prelims. And that is why it struck me that I need to share this information, share this strategy with you all, because those last 20 days, and we knew we were cracking the exam. So, what is important is mock test. They say you take mock test, but then mock test not getting marks should not disillusion you. That is what is important.
And also, I personally think that where do I had taken out my Polity 365 from last year. Where is it?
Yeah,
No.
I'll search it.
Yeah, I had taken it out especially. But anyway, let's take for instance the schemes document. What I did is now, if you look, you don't underline everything. You only underline what is important. And I think what's really good as a strategy while studying is um, I'll answer Vishu, I'll answer your question after this. But what I think really helps, first read it. Read it. Don't touch your pen to the paper. First read it. And once you read it, write on the sides. On the sides, you should write what was the takeaway? What did I just read? So that you know that you're putting something in your mind and you're not just reading. Because like ma'am said, you can fool yourself and your mind becomes lazy. So again, like here for instance, if I'm talking about Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin. So objective. The most important thing is that it's providing a pakka house with two houseless householders and by 2022 in rural areas. So pakka houses to houseless people in rural areas 2022. These are your keywords. And immediate objective, cover 1 crore households which are houseless or living in kacha house, dilapidated house in 3 years and all. All of this is not important. 1 crore households. That's important. The objective is to reach 1 crore households. So just go through all of that, see what is relevant, and only remember those keywords. Those are the keywords you need to remember. The best way to do it is read something once, and then you can on the side write down points of what you just read, what you think is most important, and it comes. Like for instance, Maternity Benefit Act was in PT 365, and they asked it in the 2019 prelims. So that is why you need to constantly write write down the keywords, revise the keywords, what are the main pointers. That is all you need to know. And that's why this exam is not that tough as everybody makes it out to be. What you need to know well. And the truth is that most people are not that committed in life. Talent is not talent is not everywhere. A lot of people don't have that kind of work ethic, that type of integrity to the to the things they are studying. They will say, "Oh, I'm studying all day," but you have to be honest with yourself. What is your output? Can you recall? Can you put it down? Do you remember everything you've studied? And if you haven't, then you haven't actually studied. You need to know it in and out. And with respect to how are you so sure about cracking in 20 days, please don't. It's not that I cracked it in 20 days. I had studied before. The only thing is, I think the last 20 days is what made it, made me crack it, I would say, because then I just got down to it. I really narrowed my sources. I kept it very limited because there is too much content, and I keep saying, don't read that much. Keep it simple, keep it less, and even the less is a lot. I mean, if I was doing away with my books and I realized, okay, I have studied so much for this exam. So that is why I'm saying that just read limited sources. And I'm just going to run over the sources again: past year question papers, uh, your Bear Act, Lakshmi Kant, and PT 365. Polity, that is all you need. One more thing you can do in those additional compendiums, which is your, I said yesterday, international organizations. Again, in that, you don't have to read everything. Be intelligent about what you pick up. Look at it from the mind of the examiner, that if I was UPSC, what would I ask from here? So that's really important. And do your international reports. Reports are, they just give you 2 to 4 marks every year, so that's really important. Please do reports. And schemes is very important, and it's a good investment because it will help you in mains answer writing as well. In fact, it helps you all the way in the interview, because this year uh, Air Marshal Ajit Bhosle asked me that, he asked me on some water schemes, and it was because I'd read, I could answer the little that I could. So scheme, all these things will help you throughout your preparation, so never think your efforts are going to waste. Whatever you do, do it well. Have integrity to what you are doing, towards
Like
what you are
Dheeraj
doing.
says, yesterday I was reading concept of cooperative society, which I learned that these societies were the outcome of exploitation. I'm not able to understand the functioning of these society, cooperative societies. You have to see the question. What question comes for prelims? See, all this exploitation and all, they are not going to ask that in prelims. Prelims would be, was it result of an act, or if you have to see what type of questions comes. That is why I said, if you've read cooperative society, go open the 10-year question paper and see what type of question comes.
Now, like what you're saying about Panchayati Raj, I think Panchayati Raj is a very interesting topic, primarily because if you do it from Lakshmi Kant, there is so much to study. So you have to again become little intelligent, that if they ask you Balwant Rai Mehta committee, you just need to know the basics. You will need to know, okay, these committees came which year, which, they'll say mark in order of the years that they came, their recommendations. So you need to know all of that. Don't go into extreme details, because I think even UPSC does not want people who simply do ratta. You need to ratto maro, like you need to mug up. I don't think you can go without knowing everything you've read.
But it is intelligent reading.
It's application of what
Application
you
of,
know.
because they are going to make bureaucrats out of you. You've got to take decisions. You have to
Yeah.
manage law and order.
You can't be a parrot.
No.
You have to have your own mind. So if you've read something, it's application based in UPSC. And that's the thing I keep saying, because I was an aspirant and I was like, this is so easy. What's the big deal? But when you're sitting in that exam, it's not that easy, because there's just so much you've read in that moment. There are so many answers, so you need to become an expert in applying your knowledge. Become an expert that in whatever you've read, you should be able to apply it. If a question comes, you should be able to answer it based on the knowledge that you have. I always say read less, but learn to apply it well.
Yeah, it's all about strategy, because there is so much to read, and don't make too many notes from the book only. If there is a
Don't
small,
make notes.
for
I
prelims you
personally
don't need.
don't think you need notes. Mains, you need little notes, because again, mains is very vast. But at max, you should make notes in your books. See, all my books have notes. And why this is really helpful is because then on the last day, I can revise the whole thing in one day. I can revise it in even lesser than one day because they're just two, three words here and there, and then in my mind, I'm going through it faster. And that is what, over time, the time you take to revise something should come down. If every time you are taking, let's say, 3 days to revise Lakshmikant, then you know that you're not going in the right direction. You have to reduce the amount of time for your revision because that shows that you remember, you can recall. You ask me what
Or
about
newspaper.
I think newspaper is very important. You should do it. I don't think you need to
You were
spend.
reading Indian
I
Express,
read the
Hindu.
Hindu. Just stick to the Hindu. I mean, there is a temptation to read more. I've made mistakes in my preparation, and I can tell you, having made those mistakes, just stick to the Hindu. Don't waste hours on the Hindu. What the Hindu helps you, it gives you context. And context is really helpful to your preparation because then you know, okay, this was an issue in news, it could be this. Context is always useful and it's very useful for mains. Prelims, you can still clear, I'll say it. You can still clear without reading the newspaper. I mean, if you just work hard enough on the other things. But mains, I think newspaper really helps. I think overall, there's no harm in picking up the Hindu. You don't even have to spend that much time. Read the editorials every day. That's it. Read the editorials, current affairs you can pick up from the compendiums, but the editorials really
No,
help
and
you.
these small news, like if there's something talked about Police Reforms Commission, Malimat Committee, or whatever, so you will just connect that this commission was for police reforms, this commission was for
Yeah,
education.
and because
So even in Times of India, I feel, I mean, if you've been reading a Times
no,
of
I think
India,
Hindu is perfect for UPSC
yeah.
because
Our
it's
generation was reading Times of India, but I think now it's
yeah,
Hindu.
Hindu is great. Just read it, understand, then you have an idea that okay, these are the conversations going on. Let's say for agriculture, there are so many editorials I had read. So my mind, it just conditioned my mind to think in a certain way to do a better analysis of issues. So don't skip the newspaper. You may miss a few days, that's okay. I don't think it will break your preparation, but on the whole I think it's good if you read the newspaper
And
and
polity,
keep
as
it
you
up.
know, like the book will have all the articles, like I've underlined, election of the president is 54. So you would, when you're reading that, you would know the questions, what type of questions come. So whichever chapter you are going to do that day in polity, just take out the last year question papers and at least 3 4 years do those parts. Just read those questions.
That's why this is such a good book
Huh.
because it will tell you, for instance, I'm reading President, so I can quickly go through this and I can see that in polity, what have they asked about
And
presidents?
UPSC asks very direct questions. The mock tests make it very difficult. So you get disheartened after a certain
Yeah,
stage. So that
honestly,
is what I found with her
I think
was.
that's why I feel no more than disheartened. It's okay. Like mock tests can really overcomplicate, which is why I really like the Vision IAS. They are simple. They don't promise to be on UPSC format or anything. All they tried to do, at least till last year, was they will test that what you know, do you know it well. It's a good test to revise. If you want to revise and recall, I think mock tests are really great for that. But other than that, I don't think you need to stick to past year question papers. It's the one advice that I can give to anybody writing the UPSC, that past year question papers can make or break your preparation.
And before doing the chapter, whichever chapter you decide to
Yeah.
study, see questions of the last 4 5 years. So
Yeah.
once you've challenged your mind and then you read, you will remember. Because without seeing the questions, when you will see the questions and you will realize you don't know the answer, it will send you in a panic, a little panic mode. Then your mind will be alert, and when you read the chapter, you will remember. So this is the way it has to happen. Just don't open the book and do precedent.
Yeah,
It will not,
don't
you
do
will not
that
remember.
ever. It is
See the
inefficient.
questions, what questions come. So then when you read, you will read accordingly. This is the crux of preparation for prelims.
Yeah, that's about it, I think.
Do we make table of landmark cases and Supreme Court judgments for prelims or do from
Look,
compendiums?
just like we've said the entire time, don't waste your time when somebody else is doing the job for you. There is enough on the
Everything
internet.
is there. There's so much you have. Why do you make
Everybody,
notes?
so everybody is doing your dirty work for you. Somebody has already made that compendium on the internet. Make use of it. Somebody has already made notes out of the PT3, like for instance, somebody's made new notes out of the newspaper, which is your PT365. Do that. You don't have to make notes out of everything. I think so many people I've seen who keep making notes because some topper will say my notes were the best, my notes helped me, this and that. You need to know what helps you. If your notes are helping you remember and recall, then make them. But if they are not helping you recall, then don't make them. Don't waste your time doing these things. Time is precious, use it wisely. And I don't think you need to study 16 hours a day. Not only is this a myth, it also again makes your mind inefficient and lazy. Study 8 to 10 hours, but say that this 8 to 10 hours and
10 hours, not less than 10
8 to
hours.
10
But
hours.
your mind has to be alert. Sometimes you can just close your book and write what all you've read. What were the key takeaways from
Yeah,
President? What
that
were the
would
key
be better.
takeaways
Now
from
you've
Money
read
Bill?
read something, shut the book, pick out a paper, and then write down quickly. Okay, this is what I remember. This is what I remember. And once you do that, what you don't remember, go back, read it again. That is more intelligent than compiling things, etc. You should thank the coaching industry for this at least, that there is so much material out there. Just pick up the things that you think are relevant, use it to your advantage. Treat UPSC like a game. It is a game, that's what it is. There are 11 lakh people who are competing against each other. You just have to be intelligent about your preparation to make it into the list.
So Dheeraj is asking, was it your first attempt? So you graduated last year?
Yeah, I graduated in 2018 and then I wrote.
And then she wrote. So last year she came home. She went. She tried. She went. In fact, she went to Rajendra Nagar to do coaching for law. And after a 5 year law, she felt that she was not liking it. It required a lot of mugging up
See,
for the
I'll say
mains.
one more thing for uh, optional, my personal experience. This is where I realized that I was very swayed. There was in college when I decided I'm going to start preparing, etc. I started listening to a lot of different people, and it was such a bad preparation. And I realized only in the last few months did I actually manage to streamline my preparation. And what I did was that, for instance, like law, everybody said take law. If you're a law student, take law. But in NLS, we have open book exams. We don't sit and mug up law like they make you do in, let's say, DU or law fact. So those children in Delhi have a better advantage at taking law as an optional, because it's easier for them to mug up. In general, if somebody is good at mugging up, even from law school, then a lot of law school people have qualified with law. But I looked at my strengths and weaknesses, and I felt that I'm I'm going to spend so much time on my optional mugging up that will leave me little time to revise, little time to do other things. I don't have that kind of time, and I don't have that kind of confidence. I felt that inspired because it's too much mugging up for me. I can't mug up bare acts. That's when I decided, whatever the rest of the people are saying, I don't care. I want to take up sociology because I've always been good at it. I had it in school, I had it in college as well. I saw it as a strength, so I started my optional after my prelims. So what I mean is,
Yeah. So it's all a lot of errors you do while taking the
yeah,
exam.
there are a lot of hidden
Huh.
trials. So if I'm
So
telling you something, I'm telling you through all the mistakes I've made on my own, and that is why just be confident, do
Acha,
little.
Rishu went to where the ICS, but left it as there was not. In fact,
That's such a good point. I think we should have a discussion one day, maybe after the exam, on old Rajendra Nagar and all the problems that come with it. I think it's a very stressful, toxic, negative environment. I I feel so strongly against it. I feel so strongly against this coaching culture that thanks to UPSC, has been created. And if you look at the exam, they themselves hate UPSC, hates the fact that there are so many coaching industries out there, which is why most coaching industries are not able to predict UPSC anymore. This year, when I went in for GS3, it was completely it was so off what I had expected according to what people around me were telling me. So UPSC is going to play that unpredictable game. They don't like the fact that you can be coached into doing something. So I don't think you need coaching at all. Be intelligent. And one thing I will say as while you are preparing, something I kept in mind and I kept reminding myself as you know Roman Saini sir used to say. He said, "आप यहाँ PhD करने नहीं आए हो." And I think that is the most important principle that you must keep in mind, that you are not here to do PhD. If you were so interested in studying and knowing the details of everything and the depth, then you should have been doing it your entire life. Maybe you would be a professor somewhere. You are here to crack a competitive exam, which means you need to know the demands of the exam and study accordingly and clear. Because you could learn a lot from UPSC, but if your aim is to clear and you don't clear.
See, I feel you should prepare and then appear, because as you were saying, when Isha was studying her 5 year law, she thought I must go and write the prelims and just get an idea. And then we realized that this exam is not about getting an idea.
Don't do that.
So don't do
That
that.
is why I always count 2019 as my first attempt, because
Because she
that
came
was when
home,
I genuinely seriously studied for it.
because she graduated, because a lot of people think,
Because
oh,
I
there's so
was in
many attempts.
college and I was like, big deal, college is going on. Let me just go write the exam. And I think that was very foolish because one, if you don't clear, it breaks your self esteem. I mean, it's a hit to your self esteem. Second, I also feel that UPSC should be your first priority. That is what you ask for strategy. That's the only strategy I
So
can
then
give
she
you.
graduated
It,
last year, and then full time was 1 year. This is
yeah,
the,
even I
this.
think 1 year you should, maybe there are those exceptions for working aspirants. I wouldn't be the best to advise on that. But on the whole, I feel that 1 year you should take off, study well, give it. Your one attempt should be perfect. And that's another thing I want to say about prelims in general, that
And Dheeraj is very rightly says, when we start, we are full of energy, but gradually you get demotivated because you are making notes, you are reading 18 hours, 16 hours, and you are not recalling.
see, I
So
just want
this
to
exam is all about your recall
see,
factor.
I really have something to say on demotivation. That is why I said before, when you write this exam, it has to be your first priority. Like they say, UPSC is a jealous mistress, and it's true. It will, it everything else comes second. No matter what it is, I don't care how important it is, but it will be second. UPSC has to be your number one in life, and if you are not doing that, then don't write the exam. That is something I keep saying, that it should not be number two. It has to be number one, and motivation happens. Demotivation happens a lot, especially with public opinion. There are always going to be relatives and friends saying you can't do it. Sometimes the people closest to you are going to be the ones dissing you and saying
No, no,
horrible
and I'll tell
things.
you again one thing. When people ask me, I said, if you are ready to study for 1 year continuously, then take this exam, because it's a very long drawn
Not even
process.
1 year. Sometimes, let's be real, you may not clear it in your first attempt. Even though I'm saying study really well, you have to acknowledge that luck plays a very important role. But that is why you need to. That's what UPSC taught me. I think it was such a moving journey for me because I realized nobody in the external world matters. What matters is your own confidence, your own determination, your own grit. कि you need to have that self confidence कि मुझे दुनिया जो भी कहे और कोई जो भी कहे 11 लाख भी लिख रहे हैं ना, I don't care.
And one
For
more
me,
thing,
I'm making it.
another thing I'll tell you, you will start enjoying your preparation. The
Yeah.
best thing I remember, even today, I always tell her that I enjoyed my UPSC preparation, because the amount of subjects you'll study history, you'll study geography, you'll study environment, you will never get bored.
I
Keep
have,
shifting subjects.
I have written the mains and I have given the interview. After the mains, there's a lot of free time, so I got back to law. And I can't tell you the first 1.5, 2 weeks, I felt I was so detached from reality because my withdrawal symptoms were so intense. I was like, I need my books. Where is my Lakshmi Kant? Where is my Spectrum, my Bipin Chandra, etc.? Because you become addicted to studying. It's a
So
really
then,
enjoyable
another thing I'll tell
process.
you, how to keep your mind alert is, first half of the day if you're doing polity, second half you make it history, or you do geography. So do 2 3 subjects in a day, so you will not get
And
bored.
I have two last things before I think I'm done with what I have to share here. One, I think what really helped me was a very good playlist, a music playlist. I think it really helped me. And as an aspirant, I know the struggles, the mental breakdowns, the uncertainty. You've left everything and you're sitting and preparing. Make a good music playlist. I thought Dangal was a really good song. Then Nefex has uh, Fight Back. There are a lot of these songs that I have that are my personal motivation songs, and I think you should have one too, so that when you're feeling down, you can just go for a walk, listen to that music, and then you will feel recharged again. So I think a good music playlist is gold. You should have that. And the second thing that I wanted to say with respect to,
And also, I think while you're studying, one day keep a light day. Say maybe a
yeah,
Saturday or a
yeah,
Sunday.
speaking, that is what I
That is
wanted
very
to say.
important. So
Take
that
your breaks. Take your breaks. I said limit your social circle in the last video, but that doesn't mean eliminate it. Have 3 4 friends who you can meet once in a week, because I realized that if I'm studying 6 days, or let's say during mains I'm studying for 13 days, then 14th day I need a break. So that is something that I was very clear on. And that's the thing, don't start with high energy. That is another trick that I learned, that you shouldn't start like, I have to study so much, and then 2 months in, you're barely studying 1 2 hours a day.
no,
Instead,
like see,
no,
someone.
I just want to say that go slow and then in the end intensify. That will always pay off more than sustained studies. You may not, I don't know, 8 to 10 hours, it depends on person to person. Some people do 6, some do 10, some do 12. Whatever you think is an optimum level you can maintain long term for the 11 months before the exam, I think you should maintain it. You could start with, let's say, 3 4 hours, then 4 months
But
left
now
for the
this is
exam,
July.
you
So
can
this
do
is July,
8
August,
hours
September.
8.
Now is 8 to 10 hours. I think now
But
10 hours.
in
You
the
have to do.
last 1 month, that is when the real fight is, the actual battle, like the final part of the battle, I would say. There you cannot afford to be demotivated, discouraged, to lower your study level. That is when you need to study the most. That's why I say spend your energy and your enthusiasm efficiently. Beginning may relax, but towards the end, you have to go really hard. Yeah.
How much did you attempt in prelims 2019 questions? How many did you do?
I think I attempted above 90. And actually, I have a really interesting tale for that. I think I got really lucky because I had some more questions towards the end that I wanted to attempt in prelims 2019, but I couldn't finish my paper. The examiner took it away from me. So I think there were 2 3 questions I couldn't mark in the end. And I got really lucky because they were all wrong guesses. I always feel like for me, I'm more comfortable with taking a risk, doing more than 90 questions, but I don't think that's the best strategy
I
all
think
the
even
time.
80, 75 to 80
It
is good.
depends on you. Look, it
It
depends
depends
on
on you.
you.
Don't do wild guesses. Actually, something else Rishu is asking is subtopics like business advisory committee of speaker, etc., are to be focused, or we can subdue them as they are not appearing in
Yeah,
prelims.
see,
Yeah,
be
yeah.
intelligent
Be
about how you're
intelligent. Yeah,
studying,
yeah. You
and do an analysis of question papers.
and when you've read the articles and all, you will have an idea because the answer is there in your question only. You just need to eliminate. This exam is about eliminating and reaching the right answer. So even if you know part of it, you will know you can eliminate. So don't go for these things. See the questions. What usually is the public accounts committee. It is the estimates committee. These are the ones which are more important. So go by that. I think that's good enough.
Yeah.
So you can just tell them the books which you read for polity. I think that would be
I've
enough.
told them.
Have a bare act of the Constitution is a must. Your Lakshmi Kant and your
Study
question
hard,
paper.
stay motivated. Don't think of how tough it is. If it's tough, then it's like I was watching something and the character said, "I hate those people who before entering an exam, before entering a competition, only think they're going to lose." Or that it's so tough. Then why are you entering it? If it's so tough, if it's out of your reach, then
So you
don't
do your
think of how
polity,
tough it
and
is.
next Saturday when we meet, I'm going to ask you questions first. So I'm going to see how much you can answer, and then we'll start. So it's going to be like that.
Yeah.
First 10 minutes, we are going to ask you questions, and which you have to reply, so that we'll see how much is your recall. So this week you do polity, and Saturday when we meet, we will do Indian national movement. Let's do history. I'll tell you how we went about history, because history is another very reliable part which will at least get you 10 to 15 questions, 10 questions at least. So 20 marks there, 20 marks in polity means 40 marks are done. So work it like that. History, polity, geography would be another 5 marks. So 50 marks are straight there. So we'll do history next Saturday. And yeah, and please pan the camera towards the source book list.
You
So,
know, I
Isha.
had taken out my PT 365 that I can't remember.
Hmm.
Just simple things. I want you should have this or one of these. It's really
Arihant, it's Arihant ISP General Studies.
it's just the chapter wise solved questions. This is very important. I think it makes life easier.
Then
When
the bare act of the Constitution.
this is my compendium. I printed out all the question papers, the past year question papers, and I also printed the answer keys. Or no, I didn't print the answer keys, but I marked the answers from the internet.
So you must do the question paper.
These are two things that look. I'm telling you the best
Tickle
way to
your
clear
mind.
clear
Don't
prelims.
let
I'm
the mind become lazy,
yeah.
lethargic. As much you challenge your mind, you will be able to
And
solve your
that's it. Then
questions.
you have your polity Lakshmikant, you have your bare act of the constitution, and you will have your PT 365, and you will also have. And if I just want to say, although I don't think you have that much time now, and there's but if you feel like you can't understand polity, I think another good book that's just to get a conceptual idea, because UPSC is leaning towards asking a lot of conceptual questions about polity, is the 11th standard NCRT on polity. You can read it in half a day just to get a bare idea.
I think for national movement we read the NCRT.
No,
So
no,
there's
I
no
meant for
harm. Polity
polity.
also.
Just
No
one,
harm.
yeah.
Half day you have enough time. At least
Yeah,
just
or
read
you
the
when you
NCRT.
feel like you want to take a break from heavy work, just pick it up, go through it. You'll understand the important principles that UPSC asks on economic justice or liberty and all these things. So yeah, and then we'll see you next week. I think I hope this was helpful. If you need any more help, you can write on Instagram or Twitter. Our
Yeah,
handles
you
there,
can
or
just
you can if there's anything in particular you'd like us to cover. And
Insta, you can leave it wherever I am leaving on my Instagram. I have been putting up the class.
DM, you can DM it or you can tweet it.
You
But
can.
DM is easier.
So you can just put it on the Insta and we'll get to know anything specific. And we'll do history next week. And but I'm going to ask you 10 minutes. We'll do questions of polity and then go ahead. Okay, bye bye. Thank
Bye.
you.